Hi, ma'am. Hi, sir. Hi, Bill. Thanks for coming.
You're
Oh,
welcome.
no problem. This is
Thanks for
exciting.
having us back.
Ma'am, actually, you both are not fitting in the camera. I want you both
No.
to be close
Can you
so
see
that,
it?
yeah, ma'am,
Can,
you are not clear, ma'am. You are not fitting in the
Tammy's in
camera.
half.
Yeah,
How's
okay.
that?
yeah. If it
There we
the
go.
camera is horizontal, you will be you both can be on camera.
Is this better?
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, this is better.
We haven't been this close ever, Craig.
So thank you,
Well, good
ma'am. Thank
morning.
you, sir. Thank you for accepting the invitation and accepting to talk with me.
Oh,
No problem.
we're very excited. Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you,
Thanks for
ma'am.
having us.
Last week, I did interview already with Bill and the music director and the main character of the story.
Yes, I
Yep.
did see the interview. You did an excellent job. It was wonderful.
Thank you, ma'am. Today, you both came. For my new audience, can you both introduce yourself? I want to introduce. Actually, I have seen the documentary. It was fabulous. You did great work.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Ty.
Well, I'm Tammy Rydell, executive producer of the documentary Was I Next? The Sean Cribben Story.
And I'm Craig Huckerby. I'm the director of the documentary.
So, director, I firstly congratulate you for the response that you are getting, and the documentary is really it's I can connect with it. It looks real. It looks raw.
It is very raw, and that's what we were going for. We didn't want any polish to it, but this is a real story, and we wanted to keep it a real story.
So, can you tell how it was started? Was I next? How it started and what make you both to as a producer, as a director. Bill already said in the last video. Now you both start telling from the beginning how it started.
Well, did you want to take that one, or I Billy arranged a meeting for me to meet with Billy and Tammy at Tammy's house. What was March
March.
2019?
Yep.
And he sold me on the story. I mean, I was already familiar with the story because I work in news media. So that whole serial killer story was, very well known. Um, and then when Billy started telling me that he had a connection to the story and telling me Sean's story, uh,
So sorry to interrupt you. Can you please little be in front of camera? You are out of camera.
okay, I'm right here now.
Oh,
Yeah, this
there we
is
are.
good. This is good.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, Billy arranged the meeting, and I went, and he sold me on the story. At the time, I wasn't even sure if I could commit to it because I didn't know what I was getting into. I have my job here at on TV, and I didn't know if I could get out of it. But I really wanted to do it just because Billy sold me on the story. I mean, it was just an incredible opportunity to work on this, and so it all worked out. I mean, we got it done, and it was just incredible the way Billy pulled this all together from March till July, getting the crew, getting the financing, getting every single detail down. And so when we arrived in Toronto, we just started shooting.
That day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ma'am, you tell me how it was started. What made you to produce this story?
Well, I'm going to go back a little bit. I knew Billy since he was 13 years old. We grew up in a very small farming community called Bar River, which is about 20 minutes outside of Sault Ste. Marie. And anyway, we were in touch throughout the years. But I started working with Craig 16 years ago now, Craig.
Something like that.
And it started out in a radio format. Then it went to, no, you were in radio format. It switched to TV format. And I started doing interviews. So I had my own show where I interviewed, and I interviewed a lot of amazing people. And then it progressed to a different format. We ended up doing a local soap opera named Tammy. And it was just a fun adventure. and we were learning in front of everybody. Then when Billy called about doing this project, because I had experience and Craig had a ton of experience, I was so thrilled and honored that Billy had asked me to join. And if I'd be interested, of course, I'd be interested because I know Billy, I know his work ethic. He's a brilliant individual, and what Billy says, he does. So I was just so thrilled that I was asked to be on board.
Ma'am, small request. When you both are in one camera, right? So you are very when somebody is talking, just be in front of camera
That's
so
right.
that our audience will
Okay.
see.
I will leave the
Exactly.
camera.
Yeah, like that.
Okay, so we got to go back and forth. Did you want me to repeat anything, Sai?
No. Audio is good. From now, the audience will see clearly. Yeah, this is good, ma'am. Thank you.
That's perfect.
And Billy,
Yes.
you tell how did you convince the ma'am and the director about this story, and what made them to connect with the story, and how did you narrate them?
Okay, sure. I guess we had started. I found out that that was Sean. Remember, we were telling the story when I recognized him in February, and I got a hold of Tammy right away because before I went to Sean and said I come with peeps, I had to make sure that I actually had some crew with me. So I spoke with Tammy right away. And the reason I went to her, this is a really sensitive story. So, you know, you're talking about a serial killer, the 8 victims, the PTSD, the survivor's guilt, everything Sean went through. So I said to Sean and Steve when I was pitching for Tammy and Craig, I said, you know, if you're going to have the narrator and the person uh, interviewing all the guests, Sean's mom, Sean included, I said, I need the person on the planet with the biggest heart because that person needs to handle the sensitivity of this story. You can't come in judging. You need an open heart, open mind, and then you'll really pull the good answers from people. So my first choice and only choice was Tammy for executive producer. I went to her first. And then a couple of days passed, and I know that her and Craig have worked together at the time for 14, 15 years. So when you work together so closely with somebody, I knew as a producer that that's going to make for good comfort. And, you know, it translates well when you're trying to get something shot and there's a lot of emotion and you've got one angle here and one thing. These two, Tammy and Craig, have worked so well together that they can kind of read each other's minds. They know exactly where it is. You know, it's just a natural comfort. And in front of the camera and behind the camera, you definitely want that. And then Craig is right about the meeting. We had it over at Tammy's house. That was in March. Tammy said yes. I went to Sean and pitched, and then he had told you when I got the gig. And then we had to lock down Craig. And because he did work it on TV and does work there, we were worried about his time because we had from March until July. We really wanted to be filming July 26th, the anniversary date of their encounter. And that didn't leave a lot of time. Craig's right to get the investor, get the bank accounts ready, get the filming permissions, all the sites. You know, we requested permission to go film at Cedars. That wasn't locked down yet. We finished that in July, August, and we were filming there in September. Everything was just hit the ground running, and we went as quickly as we could. But these two were important because, you know, without a director, he kind of has a good idea. And the cool thing about Craig coming in on the story is he's a news guy. He's done this for 40 years plus. So, I mean, you know, he's got a lot of experience at looking at a story, dissecting it quickly, and making it make sense to the people. So, for him to storyboard this was probably a little easier than I would think most directors have a shot at that because he's got newsroom experience. He's really good at getting into the story. What counts? What facts do people need to know? Put it together and spit it out. So, I mean, I kind of lucked out getting these two. They work well together quickly. We needed, you know, time saved on this project. We were up against the clock for sure to get it ready. So it made sense that we had two people that work well together and they come in loaded with experience on how to put a news story together. And then Tammy and I and Stephen made sure that the heart was in there. So, you know, according to Sean.
So Craig, you tell me as a director, when you hear the story, what was your the first thought?
My first thought was, wow. You know,
Okay.
just because I knew the story of Bruce MacArthur, I didn't know all the details of the victims. And when Billy presented me this story that he knew a victim that got away, uh, like anyone in the news business would jump on that because it's a huge story. It's a huge human spirit story, and it's a huge sensationalized story, right? And I just thought I have to. I mean, I'm used to making news stories 3 minutes, so
Hmm.
here we are looking at an hour, you know. So it was kind of a unique experience for me in that regard because, like I say, I usually don't have that luxury of an hour to tell a story, right? So
Yeah.
for me, it was almost like slowing it down because the news you're rushing it. You got 3 minutes, you got to tell that story, and you don't go into great detail with news stories. Here, we were allowed to go into great detail, and it was just kind of nice in that regard that instead of rushing a 3-minute piece, we're working months and months telling this story, and I really, really uh, love the opportunity to do that.
So tell me about the music that added to the story.
Well, the music's very, very important. It brings out emotion in the scenes, and um, I remember editing the cedar scenes, and I couldn't get through editing without crying. And that was because of Steve's music, and the visuals all worked so well together. And I would ask Steve just for, this is the emotion I'm looking for. This is where it is in the documentary. And he would just give me a piece of music the next day that just worked perfectly. And I was like, oh my God, you know? And it was like that throughout the entire process of editing. It was like he already had some pre-made music tracks made that I loved, and I knew exactly where those were going to be used. And then there were times when I was editing Cedars, the Cedar sequence, and saying, "Oh, you know what? I really need something a little more tear jerker, a little more heartfelt," and he just did it, and it was just amazing working with someone with that much talent.
So you took all the real characters in the story, right? So all the characters in the documentary are real characters, real
Yeah,
people.
real people. They're real people. It's a real story.
So have you ever thought that putting them in the story and creating a visual and that makes more people to it is like provoking again. I mean, telling the message to the world that you can do crime like this.
Um, I don't know. I think it comes down to individual projects. This project really caught my attention just because I knew some of the background on it. I knew Billy. He's so passionate about this story. It's like
Hmm.
I say, he sold me this story, right? There was no way I was going to say no to Billy after I saw the passion from him. And so, I mean, I take on projects one by one, depending where my comfort level is. Like I say, I come back from a news background. Um, if you were going to say, do me a documentary on figure skating, well, I really don't know anything about figure skating. So I would not be a good fit for that, right? But I think I was a good fit for here because, like Billy say, I mean, I've been working in news, and it was a good fit for me.
So why this title?
Why the title?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of funny because the title kind of came out of just chatting, and
Hmm.
we were thinking of a title, and I can't remember, Billy, how I said you said something, and I said you said was I next? I think you were uh, paraphrasing something Sean said, and I said, well, there's
No,
a
we were going through the treatment, remember? Uh,
yeah,
and Tammy and Craig and I were sitting, and we had the title of the working title was first I Cogitate, which became the name of the company, only because the meaning of that word is to think deeply about something, very meaningful thought. And I thought, wow. when we were talking about it, but everybody that we pitched that title to were like, what's that cogitate mean? What's that word? What's and we were realizing we were losing them with the title. So when I was reading the treatment, and we kept going through, we were on maybe page 12, 13, 14. We were going through all the notes and the storyline. And I said something about, in Sean's voice, left him to ponder the question, was I next? And as soon as I read that, Craig said, that's it.
Yeah.
And he goes, that's the title. And it just kind of, boom, that's how we got Was I Next?
Clicked. It just worked.
Mhm.
Perfect.
Yeah. And all Tammy and Craig and I just said, you're right. I phoned Sean and Steve, said, how about Was I Next? The Sean Cribbin story. They liked it. But we kind of stumbled
And I think
upon
we
the
were just
title.
starting to edit the trailer. And so we
Yes.
needed to get a name. We needed to get a title that worked.
And
it
we
just
only had a working title.
And
Yeah.
also Tammy did a great job. I think she created a effect with which the documentary went into a next level.
I will say so. I agree. A few things with Tammy when she prepares for her interviews, and I know that a lot of people are getting into the research and the questions, she does all that, but she kind of goes in and she wants to feel, and I mean, I think that takes a lot of skill to be able to go in blind when you're winging it. And it's not that you're winging it, she knows the story, she's done the research, but she lets the conversation steer her questioning. And I can remember, Catherine McDonald's interview was a big one for us. That's the global crime reporter for 24 years. And Tammy was a little nervous to do her. And it happened. The interview was scheduled the day after Sean was hospitalized. Remember, we talked about him getting sick. And we had Catherine and the detective's interview scheduled right around then. That was the next day. So I think I was pretty emotional. But Tammy went in there and handled that. So you're dealing with Sean being sick, interviewing a big reporter that's covered this case inside out. And the cool thing about watching Tammy at work, she has her way of breaking the walls down, getting someone comfortable with you.
Yeah.
We were not worried about Sean's mom coming onto the dock. I just said to Sean, joking, I said, you leave her with Tammy for an hour. She'll get her on that camera. And just because there's a comfort level. She's got experience as an interviewer. So for her to become the executive producer made sense. She could handle both sides of that title.
Yeah,
Well,
Tammy, you should say it.
I also love people, and I'm a mother of 5 daughters, and I've always wanted to make sure that I showed and taught my daughters that you follow your passions in your heart. And if you do that, good things will come to you. And so when I started to research Sean, I have to be honest, I had nightmares a little bit when I looked into the MacArthur, the horrible things that MacArthur had done. And I did have some nightmares. And so I had to, work through that. But I also know that if I do not connect with a person on a certain level, I'm not the person to conduct the interview. But I certainly did with Sean. And I knew after I met Sean, he was going to tell me more than he even thought that he would. That was the thought in my mind. And I just know when I sit with a person, there's a connection or not. Si, you must feel that sometimes when you're sitting interviewing in person. I know right now it's not, but in person it's a different level. And I do in my mind have certain things planned, but for me the best way to get what I can out of a person is to let them tell me their story, and I have to guide it. And so I have a way within me that I know I can do that by just a few questions, and then I keep going from there. Catherine McDonald is an amazing individual, and she gave an incredible interview. But Sean poured his heart out. That took a lot for him. And there was one day on set where I cried a lot because his story is just so, as being a mother and thinking about one of my children going through what Sean did, of course, was really upsetting. And and I'm passionate about people. So I had one day on set that was very difficult for me, and I shed some tears. And I'm sure now that you've watched the documentary, you've seen that day. But the whole documentary was done from passion and from caring about each person I sat down with, and especially Sean with what he went through. and wanting to give Billy and Craig and all of us, work to the best of our ability and have them be proud of me of the job that I did. And also, create some sort of heart that went into it with each person that I interviewed on a certain level.
So was I next? What made you to think about it more? Because you connected with the story when Billy said about this story. You connected with this. So what made you to think more about it? Main thing that with which you connected.
The main thing that I connected with when I researched it, when Billy told me, of course, I said, I absolutely will do this. Absolutely. But Sean was the main reason. When I researched and seen what a certain individual went through and how Sean was going through difficult times, as anybody would, I would never know how that would feel. And so it was Sean was the person that I felt so horrible for, and I wanted to meet him and I wanted to let him know there were people out there that cared about him. Some things happened where people wrote some terrible things to him, and that was something that bothered me. So I wanted him to know that me coming in was because I cared about him as a person, I cared about his story, and I cared about helping him and helping him heal.
So, director, so you tell me, what you already have the story, right? You have the story on the paper. How when you thought that to make that this a visual representation, so to show to the world about Sean. So have you imagined that this is going to be big and you are going to get awards for the documentary that you are creating?
I didn't go into this thought at all. I mean, my thought was let's produce one hell of a documentary
Pardon me.
on this story because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to do this story. So we just wanted to do it right. As far as the script goes, I mean, we gathered, we shot, we researched. We didn't really have a script until we started editing, and because of COVID and stuff like that, we had to kind of change our approach to it. And I thought, well, there's no one better to give the narrative of this story than Billy. He's the one who brought us all together. He's the one who's very, very passionate about this story and protecting his friend. So, I called Billy and he said, "You got to trust me on this one, and I need you to do the narratives on camera and tell me this story from start to go, and we'll do that in the process of editing." So I would say, Billy, I need to start. I need something to start with. And so he would do something on camera, ship it to me. I would love it, and that's how we started it. I think the biggest challenge of this story, for me anyway, was not sensationalizing the story, not
Okay.
sensationalizing the Bruce MacArthur part of it. I
Okay.
mean, it's a sensational story,
Okay.
and you have to put Bruce MacArthur and the gruesome things he did in the story. But I didn't want to dwell on it. None of us wanted to dwell on it, especially Sean. This is Sean's story,
Yeah.
and that was always front in my mind is that this is Sean's story. This is not Bruce MacArthur's story. This is what happened when Sean had an encounter with this monster, and how he dealt with it. And being sensitive to that, and having Billy to kind of guide me, and Tammy, and to guide me into the sensitivity of this story, was crucial.
So, what is your perspective on Sean's story? And small request, can you be in front of camera again? You are going out
All
of.
right.
Tammy also, while talking, she's going out of camera. I want the audience to see your expressions.
Yeah,
We
no
apologize.
problem.
No
Um,
problem. No problem.
so what was the question again? I'm sorry.
Yeah. What is your perspective about Sean's story? Your own perspective.
My hope is like, how do you live through that? Was my reaction. It's like, how do you come? I mean, I know the police say something, but in my mind, just knowing the facts, and knowing how Bruce MacArthur operated, no doubt in my mind that Sean was his next victim, and just by a chance Um, serendipity that Bruce MacArthur's roommate came home that night at that very time and kind of kiboshed the entire situation. Um, and Sean waking up the next day and not even the next day, not even realizing how close he came to death and not realizing it for what, weeks, months later, that
It was six
he was
months,
very
I think,
close,
after
6 months
that.
later, that, oh my God, I could have been dead. I could have been killed. And like, I don't know, you kind of have to put yourself in his shoes the best you can to tell that story, right? And
Yeah.
I got to know Sean. I got to know his personality. I got to know his lifestyle. I got to know um, a lot about him. And there's a lot of Sean that people didn't know um, from news reports, and we wanted to show that person.
So while directing this movie, also when putting this when you are implementing the thoughts that are there on the already in the script, so what you made, what are the things that you put in your mind while putting it, while implementing it?
I'm a very visual person. That's how I do. That's how I work. Is when I like we'd be out shooting, walking the streets, and I'd have my camera, and I was okay. I got to shoot that. I have to shoot this because they're identifiable parts of, say, Church Street. Um, I may not use this footage, but it's nice to have, and that's how I kind of went through the entire process, was visualizing what I wanted, what we need, and you know, we grabbed what we could, and once you have all that, you kind of start putting the story together, right?
You're talking about the rainbow on Church Street. I know they love
The
that when they see
rainbow,
Yeah.
that.
all sorts of
but
things, flags everywhere.
but director and the cameraman, Craig also worked the cameras. So I can remember at Cedars, Tammy and I sitting back, and Saturday we were busy. We started filming at 9 o'clock that morning. We had Brian, Elisa's, and Francis interviews over in Dundas. We were filming at Sean's school, the church, out all day. Then James and I had to go find the tree for the tree planting ceremony. Whew, that took 4 hours. And we got back. But I remember around 5:36, when everything was starting to amp up and candles were getting lit and Craig was getting antsy. He wanted to get on that road and get filming. Like that was just part of the hunger in him. So we arranged for Mark to take you around on the four-wheeler golf cart. And he wanted to go early. Like we said, we're going to go out when it's dark. That's what illumination is. You'll see the candles better when it's nighttime. But I can remember looking down the road with Tammy, and I said, look at Craig. He's laying on this dirt road with his camera, getting people lighting the sippy cups. So, it's great to be the director, but what a bonus when you're also a camera person and you're looking at angles and compositions and I want that shot. And like, you know, through filming, we got to the point where they are now, where I could just kind of, if I saw something, Craig's like, Billy, I'm already on it, So it just, but to watch how he was putting that story together when he says visually, he's not kidding. He laying down on the ground to get a picture of the sippy cup. I'll never forget watching that. And I thought, wow, that's dedication right there.
It is.
What
And
about police?
I,
What about police? The police are there in the documentary.
The police?
Police, cops are there in the documentary. Tell me about them.
The cops are minimal. We kind of just interviewed Detective Dickinson. He was the lead detective for the case, and he's the one that actually figured out it was MacArthur's van that was a special edition. That was Dickinson. So he was the lead detective. Um, a couple of things with his interview. We had interviewed him first time at the police station. And the whole video of that interview, the sound was off. We had static in the mic. There was just something was off. So we had to contact Toronto Police Services and reschedule that interview. Well, the second one did. We had, that was the one interview we had technical problems with. And so we were, Mike and Craig and Gary were able to pull out, some of the audio, and we had decent visuals. So they kind of patched a bit together. But I would say the perspective from the police we wanted to maintain a good relationship with them for the simple fact they treated Sean well. And that was important to Sean. Victim services was good to him. They were very concerned with his mental state, and I think they were the ones that even recommended a few things for therapy. But just he had a good relationship with the detective and Catherine, and we didn't want to come in and start, you know, investigating everything and get down and rattle the cage. We wanted to keep an even keel and respect the story, not sensationalize it, like Greg said.
So Tammy, tell me about your work in the documentary.
One thing that I want to say is that our crew is a crew that jumped in and would do anything. So we all multitasked. Like I would be the boom girl sometimes. I'm interviewing. Yeah, Billy, Craig. I mean, so we're a small crew and we all, learned from the bottom up. Well, still to this day, I still like doing things from the bottom up. I love being the boom girl. I love doing all of these things that maybe an executive producer wouldn't do, but Craig as a director is the same and Billy as a producer is the same. We all jumped in and did everything that we could to make this work. As far as working on the film and watching it progress, I was extremely proud of it. I was extremely, like Billy, I can't say enough about him as a producer. I've known him since he was young. There is nothing that Billy won't tackle and do to the best of his ability. I want to make sure people realize that not only did Billy do the narratives, but he also wrote them all. He's an incredible writer. And when he writes, he puts his heart into it. And there's some messages that he has written in this documentary that I think if people can pull those messages out, there's a lot of good things that you can learn from his words. Craig is multi-talented. I've worked with him for many, many years. To have the opportunity to do a documentary with somebody that I respect and who has taught me from the bottom up, I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for Craig. It was a real honor for me to work in this documentary with people that I respect and admire so much. Meeting Sean, meeting Steve, meeting the rest of the crew, and seeing how we clicked and the passion between all of us as an individual, that really meant a lot to me. And I want to say some of the background things, like one day when I was interviewing and we were in Sean's town, I was walking down the street and I trip and fall a lot. Well, I tripped and fell. But you know what? At that moment, you've seen how the crew all came together and grabbed me and picked me up. And it, no matter what happened, there's always things behind the scenes. But no matter what happened, you know that you're with a good group of people when they care that much and they ran and picked me up off the street. And so for some of these little things that happen behind the scenes that people would never know, it just proved to me that the people I'm working with have the biggest hearts and are so intelligent and good at their job. For me to be involved in this documentary was a gift of a lifetime. Never did I thought that we would do this well, but I knew that we had something special. Sean is a special individual. His story is unique. The crew that Billy put together and the vision that Billy had, Craig had, it all came together. And I think that you've seen the documentary, Cy, and I think that you see that not only is it the story, it's the people that put it together that made it work. It was everyone working together. And I think that I can say I'm really, really proud of the end product. And I'm so proud of Sean.
And I think the key to the success of this documentary was the size of the crew. It wasn't a documentary where we had 50 to 80 people on set and shooting it. Very intimidating to people, especially when you're interviewing people that are it's a very sensitive story, a very emotional story. So we tried to keep our shooting to a very intimate setting. So it was just like chatting, just like we're chatting now. And I didn't want that intimidation. We didn't. Well, first of all, we couldn't afford a crew of 50 to 80 people. So we did what we did, and we, like Tammy said, we all helped out where we could. But I think that made the people we interviewed during Sean included very comfortable on camera, and that came out on camera, and we got what we needed on camera.
And
Just
and
For
tell me
sure.
about the locations where you shot.
locations were anywhere. I mean, they were in our hotel rooms where we did interviews. We were at
In
the Nest
Toronto,
in Toronto. What else did we shoot? We shot. I mean,
Dundas.
Dundas. Billy shot his narratives in his own apartment during COVID lockdown, and
Okay.
He played
uh,
the director's card on that one too, by the way. Okay, because that
yes,
one kind of hit me out of the blue.
I did want to say something though, if I may. Craig, as you know, Sean got very, very sick during our production, which was so scary. And we didn't know if we'd have to take the documentary in a different direction. Thank goodness he was okay. But our director here got very ill as well. And he had problems with his heart and was off and had to get an operation to get stents. So during the production, we had a couple major health risks that happened. And that was a little bit difficult, and especially on Billy and I, and so
Yeah.
worried about
And
everybody.
Steve.
And Steve, and yeah, Steve, his part, Sean's his partner. It was a really, really difficult time, but we are so grateful. Craig's okay, and then Sean, of course, made it through it.
So Billy, what was your intention behind creating this story?
Wow. Number one intention was to have Sean's voice heard because what happened with him for the year and a half that this was being investigated, once MacArthur was arrested in January 18th, 2018, I think I get my dates on. Yeah. And then 19 was the sentencing because that's when we did Cedars. So he was arrested January 18th, 2018. I could be off on a day or two, but around then, our biggest thing was, and I just forgot it. See, 10 o'clock coffee break. What did you ask me again? Sorry, please.
It's going to come back, Billy. It will come
I
back.
know.
It's
What did you
your
ask me?
intention. Your
My
intention behind.
intentions, yes, was to get Sean's story out there and told because what had happened, he was the lead witness for that case for a year and a half. So they kind of really groomed him, took his social media off, just kept him kind of away and made sure that he was, protected kind of witness. They wanted him for the case. And then when MacArthur pled guilty to 8 counts of murder in the first degree, there was no trial. That was it. Trial over. So Sean's getting amped up to be a witness, and they didn't want him to be a plaintiff, so he couldn't even go after the attempted murder charge. But that must have been really hard to be groomed for that year and a half, and then boom, it's just like bubbles burst. There's nothing there. And I think that was what I found most heart-wrenching. He had all of this information and from the heart and personal experience because he was there, and he couldn't get that out. That must be frustrating to somebody. So the biggest intention for me was to have Sean's voice finally heard because this guy went through a ton of horrific nightmares and daymares, everything. I mean, it messed him up for a long time. The guilt, the PTSD, the tremors, this was a big thing for him. And then to not have a voice to kind of help you get healing, that was our biggest intention, was to make sure that Sean had his platform to tell his story. How did it affect you? How did you survive it? What was your friends' reactions? What did your family think? All of those questions that we wanted to know, he's the only one that could answer that. So we wanted to give him a voice. That was our biggest intention.
Okay. So Craig, what was the first compliment that you got after completion of the documentary?
Jeez. Well, I think we were showing it to each other. We were showing it to friends as we went along, and so we had a lot of support that way, saying, "Oh, this is looking great," it's stuff like that. But once it was all finished, I just kind of sat back at that point, and Billy started entering all these film festivals, and it was just mind blowing how well this documentary is done. I mean, it's just incredible. This is our first out of the gate documentary for this company, and we've already done so well internationally with this story and with this doc, and it's just,
Your friend in London called it unconventional and unique, didn't he? Wasn't that one of your news friends?
tastefully done, he said.
Okay.
And that was very important to all of us, that it's tastefully done. Like I said, we didn't want to sensationalize Bruce MacArthur. We didn't want his name to be the star of this documentary. It had to be Sean. And yeah, I mean, like I say, we didn't go into this documentary thinking, oh, we're going to make a best documentary feature. We just wanted to tell his story. And we did the best we could with what we could. And like I say, I'm just blown away by the international support and recognition this documentary has gotten.
Well, and another thing, pardon me, is that it was really important to us that we had hoped that through filming this documentary that we could help Sean heal in some way. And, you know, he has expressed that it did help him heal. And that was really important. Billy had mentioned that early on. And that became very important to me because we cared about him so much. And to see the process from the very first day that I interviewed Sean until the last day when we completed all the interviews, there was a huge difference. And to me, that was the most gratifying, to see that we helped Sean in his healing.
So the documentary is emotion, the emotion of Sean, what he felt at that particular time, and you tried to project it.
Yeah, we tried to help him heal through the process of filming the documentary. And I believe we did that, don't you?
Both on and off camera.
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah.
Greg, what made you think that after getting the reactions from the people who watched that movie, the documentary, you created a miracle?
Again, I was just thrilled with the reaction we were getting as we were making it. You know, we would all sit back. I mean, when I edit, I watch it over and over and over and over again. So you kind of like become numb to it, you know. So it's nice to have that outside looking into it and saying, oh yes, they're getting the story, and that was really important to me. Is that, do you understand the story? Do you understand what's going on? And the more support I got in that way, the more I knew that what we were doing was working. We just plowed through it, and the editing process was a while. It took months and months and months to put everything together. But I mean, that's what happens, you know. Like, you have an hour story, a plus hour story, and you want to check off all the marks on this story, right? You want to make sure that you're telling it right. And when people were giving me that feedback that they're understanding it, well, then that's all I really needed.
So, Billy, if the people from out who lives in other parts of the world other than Canada, where they can watch the documentary?
Okay, so right now we're still festivaling. We could go right to festivals until this coming September, because we kind of started around September, October, November this past year. Usually do the circuit for a year, but I think we're getting anxious, and we want to start getting out there. So we are probably looking at wider distribution and our distribution deals after February. We've got a few big festivals in February. It's kind of like our Christmas month for us. We've been all waiting on February because that's when we've got Atlanta. Shout out, woo woo, that's about me. Like, and you know, just some bigger festivals. We've got Ann Arbor, we have Hong Kong, and if like it's kind of mind-blowing to think of where this can go. We never really looked at it. I didn't even know what a laurel was. I will never forget when I was, you know, I knew that the laurels were what you wore around your head in the Grecian times to signify excellence. And, you know, wow, I had a couple of people here, Harry Harris and Mobeen, over from the BBC in the UK. All right, so they were doing a 5-part documentary series on serial killers over there, and they wanted Sean to be in their documentaries. So we were meeting here in my little apartment, this little downtowner, and they came in. We got along really well. I could tell there was a good comfort zone. I made them some tea. I said, "You're from Britain, you must want tea." So I had about 5 kinds of tea. We locked it down, and we were gabbing, and they had asked then, they said if they could use Sean for one of these 5 parts of the documentary over there. I said, sure. So I get it in my head because all I've heard about, you need to get some laurels, need some of these laurels, heard about them. I wasn't really sure how the whole thing worked. This is embarrassing, but live and learn. I said, sure, we'll let Sean be a part of your documentary. I said, can you get me a laurel? Harry looks at me and goes, Billy, it's not how it works. And I still didn't know how you got them. And I said, well, how do you get them? He goes, you have to earn them. He said, when you submit your film to the festivals, they have accredited judges made up of directors, producers, executive, all film industry people. And they will determine whether or not you make judging rounds, official selection. And from the judging rounds, you'll see if you get a laurel. Well, we have 50 of them at least now, so I think we figured out how to get a laurel. But that's how I really didn't know, Sai, at the time. And I'm just like, can you get me a laurel on that? And they're like, that's not how it works. I'm so embarrassed.
That's what
So,
I wanted.
I
I wanted Indian people to know about your documentary because I saw you gave me access to watch it, and it was like one hour 15 minutes story.
Yeah.
And
75 minutes.
1 hour, 75 minutes, and director made me sit for 1 hour 15 minutes. I was
Good.
like,
Good.
Did you see the speech at the end, Sai?
yeah, I saw the Sean's speech, and I mean the candles. Yeah, I saw. You created emotion in me. That's what I want to ask you, Tammy. By as a producer, as an actor. The Sean story. What is the emotion with which you connected, and what people from different parts of the world can connect with, can learn, can think about from Sean's story, the emotion that you personally observed?
Well, number one, I remember way back, and I mentioned this to Billy, I read an article that Ron Howard had written, and he had said that one of the most important things is when you're filming is having emotion, having people feel it. And so for me, going into this, and being a mother, I feel emotion. I feel for people. I felt for Sean in an overwhelming way, and I just felt that if we can translate that on to the film, and if we can reach people like you, Sai, who can feel it, and in the spots where we want you to feel it, and if you can not only feel it, but see the expression in Sean's face or Catherine's face as she's talking, or Detective Dickinson, Billy. That was very important. And I hope that when people watch it, that they can feel what we felt and what we put out there. And emotion was a very important part of this documentary because it's a very emotional story. So I just hope that we've done our job well enough that when people all over the world are watching it and they're sitting in a theater one day, hopefully one day, that they can sit there and they feel it. And if somebody has a tear, then I know we've done our job.
Yeah, they will, because you did with 50 to 80 people. The people who work for the movie just 50 to 80 people, but it doesn't look like just work 50 to 100, 50 to 80. It looks like you worked with a lot of people, because nobody's they are behind cameras, but the quality of the movie is fantastic.
Oh, good.
The quality, the visuals, and Krag, you have to tell about, and also the trailer is fantastic. How did you create it?
Oh, the trailer was very tricky because
that's a loaded statement, Craig.
Yes.
To say the least.
You have to grab the person's attention in such a short span and try to tell the story and get all the key points in there, and also to make people say, oh, well, that looks interesting. No, we want people to say, oh, that's interesting, I'm going to watch that, right? And so editing the trailer was actually a lot harder than editing the actual feature.
Okay.
Because like I say, you're working with seconds to put these key elements together, right?
Correct.
And again, I think the trailer ran what, 3 minutes or something?
2 minutes 50 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it was almost kind of like editing a news story for me back in the old days. But I mean, I'm working with music and graphics and all these things to kind of pull your attention into it, right? So, and Garrett Masters, who did the final edit on the trailer, just did an incredible job, and the pressure he was under to get it done in time, and what he pulled out was just incredible.
Yeah, as an Indian, the background music also, the music creates the emotion. I
Yeah.
connected with the music in the trailer.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
The sound
Exactly.
is fantastic.
Music played a
Mhm.
huge part of the trailer
Big
because
time.
the music pulls you into the visuals, eh? So, um, yeah, I mean, it all worked perfectly.
Yeah,
Like,
it is a collection of too many talented people.
oh, very,
Mhm.
very, very much so. Yeah.
Was I next? What is next?
What
Oh,
is
geez, I
next?
wish we knew. Getting rid of COVID.
Yeah. So we can
Yeah.
get work.
Yeah. We're game for anything, really.
We have a few
Whatever
irons in
Billy,
the fire right
yeah,
now.
whatever Billy
We
has
just
up his sleeve,
Yeah.
we're in. So,
Yeah.
So, Billy, what is your next step?
I
yes.
just work on TV. So,
Yeah.
Next step is certainly making sure this is on wide distribution. We're going to be getting it out there shortly. We have just recently been approached by a couple of different groups. We have one gentleman from Egypt, and he was facing a really rough time. Let's just say death, probably. He was going to be executed, I think, and he escaped. He's approached us to do his story. We also have some work from a local company in Toronto. I can't say too much right now because we're in negotiations, but I just spoke with them Friday and yesterday. So we might be hitting the ground running by Friday. If all goes well, we've got an episode they want us to produce for the end of the month, end of February. So there's a few things. We're just kind of waiting for the right fit. We've had a lot of offers and everyone keeps saying, Billy, what's next? I really want to make sure we see this one through A to Z because this isn't my first time. And so I'm kind of conscious if I'm missing something, overturning every rock, making sure that I've done it properly. And beyond that, I think we're hoping for something that kind of tags in along this storyline.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a little foreshadowing, maybe a little stay tuned. We can't say too much, Si, but we will definitely let you know when we can. How's that? Okay.
Yeah. So, Greg, you was telling something. I interrupted you.
I can't remember what I was saying.
It'll come back. I've
Yeah.
said that before today.
Yeah, you have a. I mean, Billy, it looks like a complete teamwork. Every person did their own job and they gave their 100%. The quality, the product quality says that the story. People can, when you said that it got too many awards, I really wanted to watch it, and when I watched it made me sit. It made me sit for 73 minutes. I was just sitting and watching it.
Mhm.
I really wanted everybody to watch it. If you distribute, every to every part of the world, everybody
Yeah.
will know the Sean story and the work that you did. Everybody did the fantastic job. They
Thank
did
you.
great. The
I
Tammy,
agree.
she's my favorite.
Thank
And,
Ah, well,
I want to say that we are so overwhelmed with joy that we have been so well received in India. And thank you so much for seeking us out and making us feel like we've done a great job. And you are doing amazing at your job. And I want to make sure that you know that. And you've got great hair on top of that.
I will tell you.
So do
Yeah.
I.
It was funny because when Tammy and Craig had started coming down, they were down here 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times filming back and forth. There was a lot of scheduling because I'm from the Sioux. Tammy and I grew up in Bar River. Craig's from the Sioux. We were all up there, but they still live there. And then I was down here, so getting everyone coordinated, through Craig's schedules, through Tammy's schedules, and Mother of Five. That's a pretty darn busy schedule right there. Say no more. But it was just. I think everything was pretty good fit from the get-go. And, we got a lot out of that as a team. Like I saw Tammy and Craig really start to feel the Toronto connection to the point where they would come down in the morning. They had their little stomping grounds. They had the same location where they stayed. So they got to know their neighborhood. They went a certain place for breakfast, certain place was on the lunch itinerary. But it was funny. The thing I was getting at was everyone really did fit in well. And Sean and Steve were going out to the theater. They took a couple of friends and they asked Tammy. And when they asked her,
Yes.
I was they go, well, she's the nice one. So you were right on the money side. Everyone got along. It was nice to see them with friendships outside of the documentary. Like, Craig and Tammy and Sean and Steve, they all get along. I don't even have to be in the room now. So everyone's comfortable. Yeah. So it's kind of perfect.
I remember when Craig and I first arrived in Toronto, walking down the street together. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
And both of us said, like, I don't think I could ever live here, And by the time it was done, it was
I want to live here.
I miss the energy of Toronto because we're back in the Sioux and it's not quite the same.
Yeah.
So it was fantastic
to
travel back. Yes, for both of us.
I want you all to create another real story so that the world will know the stories of the real people.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna try. That's for sure.
Because you people are impact creators. You are creating effect. Very good effect.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
I'm getting messages from Sean as we speak. He keeps coming up. You see me reach for my screen. So
at last, go on.
I would like to ask you a question about the documentary side.
Yeah.
So when you were watching it, what part of it really drew you in?
What part? I love the entire. I connected with the entire Sean's story. At the end, the candle scene was fantastic.
Oh, illumination.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
And,
see, now remember, she's an interviewer, so she might just flip this right around on you. Okay.
Yeah, that candle scene and you asking questions to her, and I connected with that. You asking questions to her, and you was very serious. I was watching you. You're very serious and asking questions. It shows you took this project very seriously, and you wanted it to give your best. That's why the reason you're getting the great responses from the world.
I agree.
Thank you, Sean. Sean, Sai.
You still didn't forget.
Sean. Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So at last, you all do you have anything to say about your project? And there are a lot of people who will be watching from different parts of the world.
I can't wait until it's out and people can actually watch it and see what we've all been talking about. I just can't wait till then, right? Like, I want my family, I want my friends to watch it, and then I want to see what the world thinks of it.
I'm nervous.
So far,
it's that whole, I'm nervous, I'm excited, I want to see their reactions, I want to see them from a distance, like, it's going to be nerve-wracking, but exciting. I can't wait for that part.
So who will connect with the story? Can other country people can connect with this story? As an Indian, I connected.
Yeah.
And
I think it's pretty universal.
Anyone with a heart would connect with this story, I think.
It's very universal that way.
I would like to say that so far, the response we've had through the film festivals, India, there's Istanbul, like the States, Canada, that we are so grateful that it has been recognized and that we've won 36 awards thus far, which was something we never, ever dreamt would happen. So I want to say thank you to every film festival that has accepted us and supported us, that we are sitting back here.
Oh.
Yeah, go on.
Okay.
I'm forever grateful and will never expect this, forget this experience. So I just want the ones that have seen it so far and awarded us, that we're grateful and so thankful.
So Billy, at last, do you have anything to say?
Wow, I think that about sums it up. The gratitude is certainly where we're at. We went into this, number one, to get Sean's story out there on a personal level. I mean, that's the producer side of it, but the personal side was to heal Sean. And, you know, we made that very clear right from the get-go. You know, you can't get any more than, wow, you can't ask for any more than I received. I've got a whole team that kind of got along. Our main focus was to make sure that the documentary was of good quality and to make sure that our friend was always protected and nurtured back to health. That's a pretty good gig right there. I feel very satisfied with the end result. I can't wait for everyone to see it. I can't wait. We've been talking about it now. I know our friends and family are pushing, and everyone's kind of like, when can we see this? We're hoping very soon. It's time. We're getting ready for that.
Yeah.
So, Craig, at last, have you seen any previous videos of mine on YouTube?
I have.
Yes.
Yes.
I watched last week's interview. But no, I mean, now that I know about you, I definitely will be watching.
Tell me you.
I've watched a few of yours. Of course, I watched you interviewing Sean and Billy, but I've watched a couple other. I went through a few of them and just watched a few seconds of each just to see your style and what you're all about and how you research. And I have to say, you're doing an amazing job, and I'm thrilled that you took the time to ask all of us. And I can tell you've researched, and then seeing the documentary has made it today a different level for you because you actually know exactly what's in the documentary. And I'm just really proud of what you're putting out there and what you've done for others through interviewing them.
So definitely, Was I Next is going to be is going to reach all over the world, and I want everybody to watch who watches this video. I want everybody to go and see this documentary. They created an amazing content. I want you all to watch it.
Thank you, Sai. We appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, Billy, for giving your valuable time. Thank you, Craig and Tammy, for giving your valuable time and spending 1 hour with me and telling about your documentary and telling about sharing your experience about the documentary.
We're going to stay in touch. You're kind of stuck with this now.
I was going to say, until we meet again, Sai.
And Sai, where are you far from, like, say, Calcutta or a lot of the places where we entered, like Sirkali, Tamil Nadu? Like,
I'm from South India, sir. Telangana.
Okay, South India. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to know where you were compared to the festivals we entered, because you saw us around here. So it's nice to see that it is definitely getting out down there. You're definitely helping that. For sure.
I'm coming to Canada this year. If this lockdown goes down, I want to live in Vancouver.
Well, then we will be seeing you. That's for sure. But I think once we drop it, we said we'll all get back together for a big launch.
Yeah.
So
I
you're going to
wanted to
see
talk
us
with
again.
you all again. Yeah, yes, sir.
You bet. All right.
Yes, sir.
Sounds good to me.
You.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you,
Have
ma'am.
a
Thank
great
you, sir.
day.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Can I put this video on my podcast and YouTube and social media, internet, everywhere with your permission?
You sure can.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you,
All right,
ma'am.
thanks,
Keep
Sai.
doing
Good
what you
to
do.
see you too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah.
We'll
Bye,
talk
sir.
to you
Bye,
soon.
Craig.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You too.
Bye.